What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In this video, I'm going to talk about why Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the NFL. But with that being said, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content. Hit that like button for your boy. I appreciate all you guys continuing to tune into the channel. I appreciate you guys allowing me to hit another milestone with over 400 subs on YouTube. Let's get this thing to 1,000 subscribers or more. We just need 600 more subscribers to get it to our goal. I believe right now we're at 425 subscribers. So I appreciate every single last one of you guys for continuing to tune in and sub up the channel. Continue to share out this content on all the social media platforms. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So I've been seeing a lot of going on Twitter and a lot going on in the media when it comes to who's the best wide receiver in the game. Last week or 2 weeks ago, Michael Thomas was saying that he was the best wide receiver in the game, and he was beefing on Twitter back and forth with Devontae Parker of the Miami Dolphins. A couple days ago, DeAndre Hopkins, former Houston Texan, now Arizona Cardinal, recently came out and said that he's the best wide receiver in the game, and that if he played with Matt Ryan and if he played with Drew Brees, he would have better numbers than Julio Jones, or he would have better numbers than Michael Thomas. I want to come to dispel all of that nonsense that I've been hearing the last couple days and the last couple weeks. I want to give my 2 cents of what I feel when it comes to the rankings and the pecking order of the best wide receivers in the game. Personally, I think Julio Jones is the best receiver hands down. Before I go into the 3 ways I break down who's the best wide receiver in the game, I'm going to just talk about Julio Jones' longevity so far in his career. Julio Jones has been in the NFL for 9 seasons. He's had 1,000 yards receiving 7 of his 9 seasons since he's been in the NFL. The 2 seasons he didn't have 1,000 yards receiving or over 1,000 yards receiving. 1 year he broke his foot, I believe in week 5 or 6. So he didn't play the whole season. He may have gotten hurt even earlier than that. But I know it was like week 5 or 6 that he got injured 1 season. And then in his rookie season, he was like 40 yards from having 1,000 yards receiving. And if you remember his rookie season, he wasn't even the #1 target. Roddy White was our #1 wide receiver, Julio Jones' rookie season. So Julio Jones have had a great career so far. To me, already he has had a Hall of Fame career. He pretty much has broken every record when it comes to hitting milestones as being the youngest player to hit over 10,000 yards receiving. I believe he sits now at 12,000 yards receiving, but he's been the fastest to hit all of those milestones when it comes to hitting 10,000 yards receiving. When it came to hitting 5,000 receiving yards, he's been the fastest to hit all of those targets. Julio Jones is one of the best leaders in the game when it comes to being a leader on his team. He doesn't do a lot of talking in the media. To me, he would be even a bigger player, or he would have a bigger platform if he would, had a bigger personality. But to me, Julio Jones is one of those guys that just comes to work, does his job, goes home, stays out of media, stays out of trouble, stays off social media with going back and forth on Twitter. He stays out of those, Twitter beefs and all of that. He stays out of all of that nonsense of debating who's the best. He just goes out and proves every year why he's the best. Now, I'm going to tell you the 3, well, before I tell you the 3 reasons, I want to go ahead and also tell you, when I talk about his longevity, another way you can tell that Julio Jones is the best is his name has been in the top, being the top receivers, in that conversation of being a top wide receiver for the last 6-7 years since he's been in the league. I remember maybe 5-6 years ago, they were debating who was the best wide receiver in the game. At that time, the player that they were trying to compare was, I believe, Dez Bryant and A.J. Green. I'm not sure if Antonio Brown had already made a name for himself yet, but I think he might have been in the conversation as well. But since then, a lot of those guys have fell off. As you know, Dez Bryant is no longer even in the NFL anymore when they were debating that a couple years ago. But Julio Jones is still going strong. Antonio Brown also isn't in the league right now. because of all his troubles off the field. So that should tell you how great of a wide receiver Julio Jones is, that he's been in the conversation for the best wide receiver for the last 5-6 years. And every time they add new names, now it's Michael Thomas, now it's DeAndre Hopkins. Soon it might be Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or one of those guys that might get thrown in the conversation, or Tyreek Hill of the Chiefs. One of those guys might start getting thrown in the conversation. But the common denominator that's always in the conversation of who's the best is always Julio Jones. He's the model of consistency. To me, that's how you determine who's the best, is your consistency. How long or how well can a player play throughout his career without drop off? To me, Julio Jones hasn't had any drop off since he's been a rookie through these 9 seasons of his career. I haven't seen any drop off in his game. I haven't seen any drop off in his athleticism or any of those things. Now, I want to tell you the 3 ways that I look at who's the best in the game. It's 3 main things that I look at when it comes to wide receivers. First, I look at your hands. How well do you catch the football? How well can you track the football while it's in the air? Your ability to catch the ball in traffic, your ability to high point the football is one thing that I look at. The second thing I look at is your athletic ability, your athleticism, your God-given talents. How tall are you? How much you weigh? How fast are you? Those are the second thing that I look at when I'm talking about who's the best in the game. And the third thing that I look at is your ability to run every route in the route tree. How well do you run routes as a wide receiver? Can you play all of the different positions? Can you play the X? Can you play the Z? Can you play in the slot? Can you do all of those different things? Or are you only a number 1 receiver that can play on the outside only? You can't slide inside like a Dez Bryant when he was playing with the Dallas Cowboys. So with that being said, let's go ahead and break down. So number 1, I said your hands. If you remember, if you think back on Julio Jones' career, some of the great catches he's had, I believe it was 2015, Dan Quinn's first season with us. We went to the Meadowlands, I believe it was, the Giants, the new Giant Stadium, or MetLife Stadium, I believe is what it's called. Julio Jones had a great catch against the Giants. Matt Ryan threw an ill-advised pass behind Julio Jones in traffic. I believe it was like 3 guys around him. Matt Ryan was running, or Julio Jones was running a square in, or like a route where he was coming across the middle of the field. Matt Ryan threw the ball behind him, and he reached back, leaped in the air, and made a one-handed catch, and somehow was able to snag the ball and pull it in while being surrounded by 2 or 3 players. That was one of his great catches of his career. Another catch he had was in 2017, I believe it was, over Luke Kuechly. Matt Ryan heaved the ball. We were at home playing in our new stadium. Matt Ryan heaved the ball up in the air. Julio Jones high points the football, snatches the football out of Luke Kuechly's hands, and runs in for a touchdown. Another great catch Julio Jones has had in his career was in the Super Bowl. Probably the best catch I've seen in that pressure situation, and one of the best catches I've ever seen since I've been watching the game of football. Matt Ryan steps up in the pocket. It was in 2016 against the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan steps up in the pocket, throws the ball on the sideline. Julio Jones catches the ball with a defender draped all over him. I believe it was Logan Ryan of the New England Patriots. The ball just misses Logan Ryan's fingertips. Julio Jones catches the ball and toe taps both feet in bounds. I still don't know how he was able to have that type of body control to catch the ball on that sideline and get both feet in. But he's had a ton of catches over his career that just have been great catches, and it just shows how well he catches the football, how well how well his hands are. And the other ability that I look at is your ability to track the football. To me, Julio Jones is one of the best players of tracking the deep ball. When Matt Ryan throws the deep ball, even if the ball is thrown and it's not accurate, which most times it is accurate, but when it's not accurate, I've seen Julio Jones be able to look over his head and catch the ball over his shoulder, which is one of the hardest catches to make in football. You have to have that hand-eye coordination to be able to look over your shoulder, be able to track the football if it's thrown short, if it's thrown too long, to know to dive or to know to speed up. To me, Julio Jones is one of the best receivers in the game at being able to track the football and see, where the football is coming down, whether it's thrown short, whether to break off his route. To me, Julio Jones is one of the best receivers at tracking the football. And to me, that's one of the most underrated things to be able to do. One of the underrated traits to be able to have as a wide receiver. Now, the second thing I said that I look at is your ability, your athleticism, your God-given ability. To me, Julio Jones, 6'3", 220 pounds, can run a 4.2 40, 4.3 40. If you remember back to his NFL Combine, they say he ran a 4.2 or 4.3 40 on a broken foot. It just shows how much of a specimen Julio Jones is, how great of a specimen he is, all of the God-given talents that he was blessed with. He has a crazy vertical leap. He probably has like a 40-inch or 35-inch vertical leap. I was watching a podcast and DeMarcus Cousins was talking about the best dunk he's ever seen in a basketball game was Julio Jones. He said Julio Jones had a dunk in a game in high school, and it was the best dunk he's seen, where Julio Jones dunked over another player. And this is a guy in the NBA, and DeMarcus Cousins, NFL or NBA All-Star, saying that one of the best dunks he's seen was from a football player. So this just shows how great of an athlete Julio Jones is and his God-given gifts. To me, the only player that can rival Julio Jones' athleticism, as far as a wide receiver that I've seen in the modern era, would be Megatron. That was Calvin Johnson, who played with the Detroit Lions. He was actually 6'5" and like 235 pounds. So to me, the way that God has given all these guys these God-given abilities, I think that Julio Jones has the most athleticism for any wide receiver when it comes to the NFL. To me, he has the best athleticism or the most athleticism. He's a great athlete, and I think that that's what separates him, makes him the best. And number 3, as I mentioned, was his ability to run routes. To me, Julio Jones is one of the best route runners in the game. He creates great separation. When Matt Ryan is trying to throw him the football, to me, he does a great job of separating from corners, whether it's him running and doing a quick comeback route. He does a great job of breaking off of his routes. He does a great job of coming out of his breaks when he's running routes. And that's very hard to do, especially for taller wide receivers, because they don't have that lower center of gravity like a cornerback, or a lot of the shorter wide receivers like an Antonio Brown, or like those guys that can play in the slot that has those quick twitch abilities. To me, Julio Jones has that quick twitch ability. Even at 6'3", he's able to do that, run up really fast and get up on a cornerback and make him think that he's running a go route, and then cut off the route and stop really quick, catch a quick curl pattern, or run, do a quick stop and go route where he's running, acting like he's going to do a quick curl pattern and then do a double move. Julio Jones is one of the best wide receivers when it comes to being able to do those double moves and catch cornerbacks and defenders off guard. He has one of the best start-stop abilities, one of the best separation when it comes to like acceleration. I think he's the best at accelerating once he stops and being able to pick up speed again. If you remember against the Eagles, where he had that long touchdown run in week 2 last season, they threw him a bubble screen against the Eagles. He was able to catch the ball and take it the distance, which I think was like 50 or 60 yards for a touchdown. That's another thing I think that separates him from a Michael Thomas and a DeAndre Hopkins. Julio Jones is dangerous to score, or able to score from anywhere on the field, whether it's you just hiking the ball to him and him coming on the reverse, whether it's him catching a bubble screen and catching a crease and being able to take it to the house, or whether it's him taking the top off of the defense and running a go pattern or running a post route. Julio Jones, to me, has no weaknesses in his game, and I think that's what makes him the best wide receiver in the game. Michael Thomas and DeAndre Hopkins, to me, they don't do a great job of creating separation, and they don't do a good job of giving their quarterback enough space sometimes to throw the football. Sometimes I think that quarterbacks just heave the ball up to DeAndre Hopkins and Michael Thomas because they don't create great separation. So the quarterback has to be extremely accurate. In Julio Jones's case, Matt Ryan is a very accurate quarterback, but I've seen times where even when Matt Ryan isn't accurate with the football, Julio Jones has the ability to still catch the ball and still, as I was saying, break off his routes and make adjustments to catching the football because of the way he separates and he creates that separation. So he's able to come back to the football with his speed and his knowledge of the game. So with that being said, I that's why I stand on the whole who's the best wide receiver in the game. To me, hands down, Julio Jones takes the cake. I don't think that it's even close when you talk about who's the best. I do think that it's close at between 2 and 5. I think it's close. But between 1 and 2, I think Julio Jones has a pretty good distance. Now that Calvin Johnson has been retired for a couple seasons, I think that there's no doubt Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the game. Even when Antonio Brown was in the game, I think that the distance between 1 and 2 was still a pretty good margin or pretty good gap. I think mainly the issue what people look at when they talk about who's the best wide receiver is they strictly look at numbers. But one thing I think that they don't realize is Julio Jones is not targeted as much as Antonio Brown was targeted when he was with the Steelers, and he's not as targeted. He's not targeted as much as Michael Thomas. I really think that if Julio Jones played in those guys' system, like the New Orleans Saints system, or if he played with the Pittsburgh Steelers and he played with Big Ben, who has a big arm, he could have the same numbers or better numbers than those guys. But with that being said, this been your boy Jew. I'll holler at you guys in the next video. You guys let me know what you think and where you stand on who's the best wide receiver in the game. But that's where I stand. I definitely think that Julio Jones is the best wide receiver in the game, and it's not even close. But you guys, I'll holler at you guys in the next video. I appreciate you guys continuing to tune in. And as always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Peace. I'll holler at you guys.